What's going on, everybody? Today is Monday, September 18th, and you are watching and listening to the Daily AI Show live. Today, we got almost everybody. And today we're going to talk about SGE, and that's generative experience. What's the first letter on that? As I said, search. Well, there you go. It's about search, guys. Wow, I'm off to a great Monday start here. This is a good indication that I should immediately pass this off to somebody else because that's apparently how today's going to go. So I don't know, Robert or Carl or somebody else. You guys want to kind of kick things off and talk about SGE, what it is, what Google's trying to do, Google Labs, all of the above? I don't know. Where do you guys want to jump in?
Well, I think it's good. I'm surprised how many people don't know about this, but I guess we'll just start with what it is. And first off, you can't really access it if you're using a company domain, a company empowered. Usually they don't allow it for your Google account. So you have to use your own Gmail account first off. So you just go to your typical browser window, and on that account, you'll see a little beaker or whatever it's called. You click on that and you can turn on or off some of these new AI labs. Whatever labs experiences. One of them is SGE. So what that basically equates to, we can do some screen shares if anybody wants to jump on that, is basically it's injecting at top of funnel or above the fold, as people say, a version of a chat experience that Google is experimenting with. So basically, whatever you're searching for, I want a bicycle that is electric that I can commute to work, right? So it's going to answer that question just like ChatGPT would, and then everything else that typically is part of Google's offering is going to be below that. So I mean, I'm being generic here, but what we're experiencing, there you go. There's an example right there of the green part being, owning the majority of the screen, as you can see, and part of my my gut tells me that this is kind of a repackaged version of what they were already doing with other algorithms and other ways of displaying content. Now, some might say, and Carl can correct me if he thinks I'm wrong. Maybe you can do a pushback. People often say that Google cannot afford to have their $1 trillion market share disrupted by AI. So there's no way they're going to just sit and let this happen. And some people say that they're willing to cannibalize themselves in lieu of the new AI architecture. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this is their version of playing at that game. And because obviously, as you know, for the last several years, Google has been trying to constantly keep people on this page. So Carl, you want to object or jump in or add stuff?
No, I think like the number one takeaway after been using some of this, can we bring that screen up again?
Of course. Yep.
Yeah. So I was, if you let's actually look at, because I think this impacts both the organic search side and the paid search side. Now, what we don't see here is obviously the search term is what is HARPA AI. But let's try to find something more. Can anyone give me a topic that someone would actually pay for the search term?
Best OLED TV 2023.
Sure. Let's do that.
I've been doing that recently.
To this point, I think there's a distinction that Google makes between informational searches and product searches.
Correct.
So,
Here's a good example of where a sponsor comes up above it too, guys.
Yes. When SGE originally came out for testing, they didn't have the sponsored ads weren't there. So that was not there. But now, as you can see, it is all the paid search is still going to be above the generative search. I think the big takeaway is they're trying, if you look at everything posted here, if you test this against, say, ChatGPT for informational searches, ChatGPT, Bard, Perplexity, Claude, it's not going to be as comprehensive. And I think that's a very deliberate to ensure that you still, quote unquote, click on the links to go to the publisher. So they're trying to have it both ways. So you can get your search, but also be able to click to the publisher. If you see all those little arrows, everything tries to also get you to the, the site where, they're pulling from. Exactly like here.
Which is my big beef, is like, this is just a repackaged version of what they're already doing. So it's like they're trying to play in this game, but they're faking it.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's like they want it both ways, and I figure you either have it one or the other. And I think the big thing is, if you go back to the
it blocked the search sidebar when it did it. So I'm just having to switch over to window real quick so we can see.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I hope this doesn't do the whole multi window thing here. Let's just
multiverse. I like the multiverse.
Yeah, man. Let's see if it works. Hold on, because I know this is always super fun.
I'll mention while you're looking for that I did a search for best earbuds earlier this morning, and it didn't offer the generative insert. It didn't put the insert in, but it did down below a number of other results. It said, "Would you like a generative search on this term?"
Really?
Yeah.
So it gave you the option, but it didn't default to it.
I've noticed that sometimes it'll just wait if you're prompting to see if you want it. But I want to talk about something that came up with one of our franchise owners or agency partners, and we did a little test. And she's in the business of helping small business owners optimize themselves on Google rankings. That's what she does. And so she's like, "Oh, I have this great client. He's number 1 on Google when you Google his category. I think it's a law firm or something." And she pulled it up, and SGE popped up, right? He wasn't in any of the answers, any of the solutions, but he was in the top of the Google links, the blue links. Yep. And she was furious. So now what I would be furious too. So you're saying that I'm able to get in the top rank in Google, but this SGE thing completely passes me by. Like, what is it using to inform its information if it isn't the existing algorithms that you told me, Google, behave by these rules and you will get your clients or you get your business up to this ranking? So it's very frustrating for people who are in this industry.
So sorry, Brian, can you pull that back?
Yeah, I can. Or is it easier for you, Carl? Do you want to share it from your side, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I can definitely share it from my side.
Only because that way you can click through what you want. I feel like I'm going to click on the wrong thing for you guys.
Sorry,
come on, Carl.
I have another thing here in this moment of silence, which is they also now include influencers in the generative results, which opens a new opportunity for something that probably wouldn't have occurred on the SERP before. And that's
exactly right.
Now you can start to generate quality content on the number of other platforms and be acknowledged by Google as a source of solid information that is a resource in the generative search results.
Which, as you know, social has never been a variable in search results. So this could be something groundbreaking, but wait to see.
The thing I wanted to show everybody, and for those who've never seen it, so you got your generative search experience, then you also have the panel bars to where where this answer is being pulled from. Now, do you remember there was also, I don't know if they have, they still have it. There was another screen here where you flipped it and it shows. I don't know if that's still there.
It seems like they hybrided them between what you see on the right and now the drop down underneath it. Because you're right, you used to be able to click another button and it showed you a grid pattern versus the scroll pattern.
Yeah. So
let's go through the example. Let's go through the work of a user. So Samsung right there, OLED smart TV. Okay, well, according to this, here are some of the best. Why is it the best? Who's saying that it's the best? And so if you click on that little pull down arrow, did it do anything? Well, not that one.
This is all the articles that this is pulling from.
Okay. So it's still utilizing the content, but you're not going to those websites. So
you can click on it. I would imagine if I click on this, I'll go to the website.
You
go ahead.
Or actually I don't, because I have
exactly. They want to keep you there. Yeah, no. So I want to buy this TV. So go through the process of buying this TV, that Samsung on the top. What would you have to do?
So I want to buy this TV. I go here. So either I can buy the TV straight up from Amazon.
So click on Samsung. See what happens.
I go to Samsung.
Yeah, so you go to Samsung. So that is interesting.
Yeah, and we're talking about direct to consumer content here too. There's a whole business to business aspect as well. And I think that the biggest takeaway here is what, there was a research done by Search Engine Journal about how much traffic sites will lose. And I think the best case scenario is around 18%. The worst case scenario is around 65%. So the hybrid middle scenario is around 38%. That's a lot of organic traffic that lose. But also, if people start getting used to this, will they actually start looking at this? Or will it be, I don't care about that. I want the answer to my question here.
The sponsored ads don't always pop up there. Sometimes they pop up below the SGE. So
which is interesting too. So, and then the other question is, will anybody actually click on these things anymore? If I get all my answers here, why would I keep scrolling to?
Especially as big as that window has become. The green is basically, it's huge.
Yeah.
So it's almost a page.
Yeah, the idea of being above the fold is kind of like out the window, because between the sponsored above it, if they do the sponsored above it, and then the SGE, I mean, hell, you even have to scroll to see the generative experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes I don't know this either, if there's any correlation between color. Sometimes mine are pink or fuchsia, sometimes they're green, sometimes they're blue. I think that's just a visual experience, but I was like, I'm curious if that has any correlation to like the type of search, or I don't know, tech or versus this. Probably not. It's probably just whatever color randomly comes up to it. But I was curious why I changed colors like that.
But everyone, you can see they're still so like the UX here, they're trying to straddle that fence. So I can click here, but then I can also ask a follow-up question. This doesn't happen in Bing, where in Bing, it's straight up, if you're in the question, you keep asking questions. There is no you can go all the links. So it's interesting that they're still trying to get you to click on the links, yet they're trying to give you the answer, but they want to give you all this. It's like a crazy.
But you just showed something here, Carl. You just shifted from the Google interface. Now you're in the SGE interface.
Yes,
because it's no longer the Google search page. This is interesting. Yeah. Because you clicked on that follow-up question, and now you're in a whole different window.
But they still have. They still try to give you the 10, the 5 or whatever blue links, just so you can. There's still a way for you to click traffic.
Now this is easy. Back to Andy's point with a product, it's easy to basically. But what about services, or what about just factual things, or vacation spots, or I don't know. I can't think of a good example, but
how about what is? Let's pick an industry. Let's not pick a product. Let's pick an industry. What would give me an industry?
Automotive.
Let's go with something like you probably find a lot on any sort of like health supplements, health foods, any sort of nutrition shakes, anything like that. It's going to be pretty easy to find content on.
How about this? What can I do to lose weight? How is that? That is fast without exercise. How about that one? Let's do that. So you've got your sponsored stuff, and it didn't even give me the SGE.
Probably because it doesn't want to touch it.
Yeah.
Google's like, no thanks, not touching it. You can have the links. We're putting no dog in this fight.
Okay, so you see what they just did? The cut. What is that? What do they call that? What's they call the extra answer that he gave right there?
Oh, schema?
No, what's the
related questions?
They have several. I watched this video. This guy was talking about. There's different categories that Google's been doing over the years, and this one is basically giving you the answer.
It's schema.
They call it something else, but
there. How about like a more like generic something term? Data warehousing.
So is this part of the experiment? Like it feels like we are that we're beta testers, right? So so it's I'm not sure that we can say that it didn't give us the full pink because because of the question, or that we just asked 3 things and so it's giving us different views because it's testing us?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was saying before we went live that interestingly on the first page for labs, it says that this is going to end in December 2023. Now, I don't think that actually means SGE is ending or anything like that. I think it's just the experimental side of what Google is doing. And then there'll be something after that. I definitely believe this, or like Carl and I were saying, this now even looks different than when it first came out. There was different. It looked a little different. It had grids. That has changed. Originally, no, you never saw the ads above it. Now sometimes you do. So that has changed obviously as well. It's definitely evolving. But this is...
Carl, click on one of those on the right. I want to see, because these aren't products they're selling. These are what's backing up, I think. Yeah. So then it highlights where they got that information. That's pretty interesting. So in this context, they're taking a page out of the Bing book, right? Because Bing likes to underline and link where they got that, which I think is really helpful, especially if it's after September 2021.
Well, yeah. Can I share my screen real quick, Carl?
And you're getting more information in this. Because Bing, you have to click to really get the information. Here, it looks like you were able to see the date, like where it was, those sorts of things.
So yeah, don't forget, this is also part of SGE. So this is like this little G at the top here. When you click that on, it pulls up this side window. And then now, just like in Bing chat, I can dig deeper into this website. It's giving me explore on this page. Does matcha green tea have antioxidants? If I do that, it brings me just to that part of the page. So it's even when you do click on links, it's even providing more, general, it's going to be this natural language sort of where it's like, hey, I don't even want to like necessarily have to go through this whole blog. I just want to know this one thing. Here's a way to do it. And then there's related searches underneath it. And then there's even an about the source, which in this case, it's telling me, it's giving me the Wikipedia page for that. So if I click on that,
honestly, kudos to Google. This is looking really helpful, right? Because you're basically taking what people are doing with GPT now, at least on the search and information gathering stage, maybe not in the ideation, and I love how it gives you where it got that and some other things to explain. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Rewind 10 months to when ChatGPT first came out. Yep. It was being, at least in my conversations about it was being compared to the poor experience of searching for something on Google by collecting this vast store of knowledge and giving it back to you in a really thoughtful, considered way.
Conversation.
But now when you add that generative thing to Google and its incredible crawling of the internet, then I think we've gotten a step up. And so kudos to Google. Yeah, this is really, I think, a step up from the experience that we had before. And I don't see Google being challenged so clearly for supremacy in the world of information retrieval.
But the biggest...
Go ahead.
So we've been talking about like search engine placement and the way that the information is given in that. The last thing that Brian just showed, that blogger is it, like if it's giving you that information, it's going directly to the part of the page with the information. That blogger is no longer getting credit for showing the ad, right?
Well, I think that they actually are going to. There's a solution for that. And I heard briefly, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But they obviously have to compensate the content creators, otherwise they're just basically stealing their work and they're not compensating them for it. But I will say, back to your line of thinking, Beth, this is where I'm mostly concerned. I love this whole idea. This interface it's sizing out to be more impressive than I originally thought. But the big problem is, how, as a business owner, can I get in there? That's what we aren't being told. And if you're using the old rules, which everybody is because they haven't learned how to change the rules, then you're hoping that these experiences or these solutions or these, matcha has got caffeine in it, comes from a blog that you wrote because you were obeying the old, rules of Google.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that Google's in their documentation about SGE has said it's all about content. So now be the best developer of content, and that will get surfaced in the SGE context.
That's pretty
loaded gun.
vague.
Well, that's me. That's my vagueness about it. They went on a little more precisely about it.
Still,
if AI can do that for you, then we're gonna have a bunch of noise. If I can produce 100 blog posts in 5 minutes, and now it's all about content, then and they said that AI content is content. So how do we? Now you're just gonna have
Google's more sophisticated, and they are using AI for this as well. They're not going to just take volume. They're going to take the actual authority of that page as indicated by the number of users who actually refer to that particular source.
So
and now I can call perspectives, right, which will allow you to expand the range of things that qualify you as an authoritative source by including the work that you do in TikTok, in Instagram, and elsewhere where you're producing informational content.
That's okay.
This is a perfect way to wrap up to TLDR. All right, so jumping off of this, so this looks like we want to talk about it. So that's the question: is content still king, and will it be quality over quantity? Go.
Well, I'm going to jump off of Andy's. He made a very, very good point that it is about content, but it's about authority. So it's obviously about first-party data. So if you can, you're going to have to build your audience. You're going to have to build your professional, what do you call it? You're going to validate yourself, right? You have to give yourself credibility somehow, because that's going to be, I don't know how they're going to rank that, other than it's just, like you said, users to your page and multiple validation sources of where you're producing content. And then, of course, what those comments look like. So if they can actually parse all that, then you're gonna need to work harder. So I guess it isn't more about content, it's about validating your content. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm gonna jump on that. If I'm building my audience and my authority, you're not finding me on Google. I don't care if you find me on Google, right? Like, you're finding me because we've had a LinkedIn conversation. You're finding me because you like my TikTok, and my TikTok, I said, go to my link tree and that kind of stuff. I'm fine building my own audience, but it's a totally different thing, I think.
Well, except that Google said that they're adding this thing. We didn't see it in the screens sharing that we did, but there's a thing they call perspectives. So if you do a query, and there is someone like you, Beth, who's done a lot of work on some other thing, they're going to offer you up as someone who can provide perspective on that query.
So the way to get to the top of Google is not to care, right? Like, to build my, I am not an official Google person. Point. You should talk to Robert. And but that's what I'm hearing from this. All right.
So Andy, adding that, or did they say anything about, because I didn't hear about this aspect of SGE until you mentioned it. How are they determining that?
Well, again,
what makes it
magically, as Google does. Right?
Well, yeah, because I mean, someone could have 1,000 followers and put really good content up there, or someone could have 1 million followers and they're just talking about a subject, but it's really surface level. How is that determined on what is more valuable or authoritative?
Well, it's valuable because people are following. So it's like, if there's smoke, there's fire. So I mean, you're going to get followers either because you're annoying and you're toxic and people like that or whatever, or you're going to, but either way, the masses are winning, right? You can't, whatever that means.
I do want to jump in, because remember, there's a couple threats to Google. One is people are starting to realize that even before SGE, there was study after study that showed at 50% of people searching don't actually go to the website. It's like 50% zero click, because most of the information is being provided on this the results page.
Yeah, because it's snippets.
Yeah. Then the question is too, it's like, oh, do we trust Google to even give us the right information, because it's loaded with ads left, right, before, after. There's not very much space to do it. And now Google's getting the threat. There's threats from TikTok. There's threats from all these different places where you can search information, what you want, other than Google. So there's a lot of threats to where Google is. the trust in what can Google provide, what I'm actually looking for. There's that aspect. And and then from a publisher perspective, will it actually show my content? Because if people aren't clicking to my content, it kind of defeats the whole purpose all the way back. And you're starting to see some of that, the revenue sharing and all that kind of stuff. But there are threats to Google all around. And I think this is one answer, but I think there's a lot of bigger things that Google has to think about with their search business, which that's why I think you shouldn't walk that fine line. You should just pull the plug and you should go and go run it.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow your conclusion there. Pull the plug on what?
Like, so you know how I'm saying, they're straddling the line, trying to get people to click on the site to go to somewhere while providing the information. My thing is, you should just provide the information and stop trying to get every single aspect of the search engine results. I mean, for SGE to try to get people to click. Have a couple of those, but don't make it like, put actually good in-depth answers. Because if I don't get the answer I'm looking for, I'm just going to go to a ChatGPT or Claude anyway, because I'm not getting a good result. But if I get too good of a result, then I stop clicking. So like pick one. And I say, hey, put a good result out there.
That's a good distinction. Like, which camp is Google going to fall in? It looks like they're trying, like you said, to sit right in the middle, because it's easier for me if I wanted some kind of explanation of language models and neural networks and stuff. ChatGPT all the way. I'm not going to go to Google for that, because then it's going to give me. Well, it used to just give me a bunch of links of reports and websites that tell me about it, and like that's too much work. I need just give me the answer. So now what they're hopefully doing is they're going the line. They're doing the SGE. This is what LLMs are, and if you want to talk about it, click here and we'll talk about it. Or you can go to these links for authorities. So I guess it's messy, as you're saying. It's a little bit not user friendly. So they got the road ahead of them for sure.
My TLDR is that SEO is going to be the same kind of effort. As you said, Robert, you may have to do more of it, but there's a limit now on the amount of real estate and attention that users will deliver to those kinds of placements, because there's a much richer experience that's being afforded by generative. And so it's going to have an impact. I think it could have an impact as much as 30-40% on the amount of traffic you can get by organic search.
I mean, I think to, Andy, what you were doing with Fit8, I think to what I was doing, not only when I was trying to, get traffic originally when I had the original CrossFit gym, but then definitely after that, when I had the nutrition company, and, I needed CrossFitters to land on my nutrition company page. I mean, I was trying to drive traffic there. So like if I put in best energy fitness drink for CrossFit, in that generative experience, it's telling me popular products like C4, and it's telling me, Andy, you and I could go deep into this, and Ghost and things like that, that I think are horrible suggestions, to say the least, Now the top is littered with sponsors from everything from ketone drinks and energy drinks and Zoa and Rockstar and blah, 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 right? It's got a whole bunch of other stuff up there. But like kind of what you were saying to Carl, like if the idea from the user side, okay, I legit want to know what's the best energy fitness drink. Now I didn't define best, so that's on me, I guess, right? Google's trying to figure out what I mean by best. Best cheapest, best fastest acting, best whatever, muscle building, whatever, caffeine, right? There's 1,000 different ways to look at best, but it's trying to give me answers. And it's saying the first two things it tells me is like caffeine is a big deal of it and taste is a big part of it. So I guess it's basing it off of those two answers and then giving me a bunch of who knows from where, total shape, resize, cooking dot something are the options it's giving me. That I don't know that's, I mean, I guess if I'm uninformed, it could inform my answer. Perhaps I will never go farther than the first, Celsius or C4 that's on here or whatever, but it's not really informing me as the user. But then again, Google just cares about trying to get you the answer as fast as possible to satisfy your needs. So it is interesting, but I think I do agree. I think generally what I'm hearing from you guys, I was looking at the screen, but if I'm Nutrition Wad, which was my old company. I don't own it anymore. But if I'm Nutrition Wad and I'm like, okay, what's the September plan of attack for SEO? I don't think I'm going to change anything. I think I'm still going to work on providing the very best blogs I can with the very, very best information I can. And I don't know if Google is going to elevate some of those into the generative search. I don't know how that's going to happen. If I'm a business owner, I literally legit don't know right now, but it still seems to me that the best path forward always, whether it's partially generated by AI or not, is always going to be able to put the most helpful, detailed information I can on a particular niche topic or subject like nutrition for specifically CrossFitters that I can possibly do, and hope that rises to the top, no different than
until they tell us what to do. Right now we're optimizing SEO, but now we're going to have to optimize LLM, EO, whatever, language model optimization. There's going to have to be some coaching or some instruction from Google, because they're a little different. It seems, because one's conversational, powered by language model, one is more algorithmic. That's basically keywords associated. So is there going to be a shift? Right now, I 100% agree with you. Stay the course, do what you're doing, because that's informing the language models in a roundabout way, but they're going to optimize for them eventually. So you're going to have to figure out a new method whenever they tell.
Look, maybe, we're still chained to the keyboard. We know that this is like, it's just a matter of time before you're just naturally speaking this in. LinkedIn is just releasing something with Sales Navigator. It's no different than Sales Navigator. The only difference is now I can naturally type in and say, show me my second-degree connections who live within 10 miles of my location, who are also in this target persona, blah, 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 blah. I can keep writing. And all it's going to do is like, yeah, cool, Brian, you want this filter, this filter, this filter, this filter. Like, it's the same thing, but people get really excited about it. I feel like that's sort of where all this going is just almost like a pie experience, like we've talked about many times, but a Google pie experience, which is like, hey, Google, tell me about this thing in natural language. I'm just going to hit listen to me. It's going to record me asking the question, and then try to provide some full experience that does not require me to have to go to any blog to satisfy my search criteria. At least that's where I think this is going.
And that was the intention of the pie developers, right? Like they're playing the long game for that. All right, Jamie.
Based on my current usage, I would like to never have to go to a search website again. I want to just tell AI, I'm looking for this information. I'm looking for the information, I'm finding whatever I'm looking for. I don't care if it searches Google in the back end. I don't want to have to go to google.com, search the thing I'm looking for, find the links, click on the thing. I don't want to ever do that again. I just want to know this. And if that's ChatGPT, if that's Claude, that's whatever interface I'm using, whatever plugin, Harpa AI, and then take me to where the content is directly. I don't ever want to have to search for it and use that interface again. And I think that's the direction.
Still kind of though, like if you say, oh, it's Perplexity, aren't we still saying Perplexity is just really the new iteration of Google?
Yeah, the better version of it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right. But that page and even that interface, I think is going to go away.
Yeah, but let's remember
with you, Brian, it's going to be voice activated with my AI assistant running in the background on my computer. And not
there's going to be a Google for that.
To pull it up.
Yeah.
Exactly. There is going to be a Google for that. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're 4 minutes over, but this is a really interesting topic. There's so much here in terms of, where this is going. It's gonna be really interesting. I feel for all the SEO houses out there, marketing agencies who are having to deal with this in real time for their clients to stay in business, to get them real results, and trying to figure out what this means, because, it's such a big deal. Obviously, you want to be that top result. You so good at the end of the day want your business to show up in that purple, pink, blue, whatever the color they decide area of Google. And if not, Carl, to your point, and I did want to give a quick shout out. I know we're over time, but searchengineland.com. And then they have a blog called How Google SGE Will Impact Your Traffic and 3 SGE recovery case studies. Carl, you were referencing that one where I was talking about best case scenario 18% loss, worst case 64. It's a detailed, talk about a detailed blog. It goes deep into their analytics and research onto what they think is happening. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it was a very interesting article. So just wanted to give them a plug. It definitely informed some of my thinking before we did this show. So
yeah,
they've been
search engine land on that. They've been an authority on that since the 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Search engine land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I never heard of them, but that's not really.
I wanted to put out one last thought on this. Even though we saw that article and all these people are saying, and all of us are making assumptions, we have no clue what will happen until it gets out to the wild and people use it. We don't know what sometimes like people actually do something that's unexpected. So we won't know until it actually goes out there. So it'll be very fascinating what comes out of
Google
this.
Glasses, right? I mean,
yeah,
Google Lens, whatever it was called. That didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. So, all right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll be back the rest of the week, guys, with more engaging topics like SGE on all things AI, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, bye. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.